I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. We will request a motion to go into executive session for the discussion of pending and potential litigation in real estate.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Voting, Ms. Bonner?
That motion carries with Mr. Mason, Mr. Guilfoyle, and the mayor out.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Clerk, I call this meeting back to order. Attorney Brown?
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Commissioners, we will request a motion to execute the closed meeting affidavit.
So moved.
Madam Clerk has a motion and a second. We're voting.
That motion carries with Mr. Mason and Guilfoyle out.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Attorney Brown, are there any motions as a result of our executive session?
Mayor Johnson, there are some motions.
All right.
The first motion would be to adopt a resolution authorizing the settlement of all claims regarding the estate of Myron Morgan in the sum of $16,000.
Thank you, Attorney Brown.
So moved.
All right, so there's a motion. Is there a second? Second. So I think I heard the commissioner from the 6th. A second. All right. No further discussions. We're voting.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Attorney Brown. Are there any additional motions, please?
Yes, two other motions. A motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the settlement of all claims by USAA in the sum of $34,321.16.
Thank you. Is there a motion, please? So there's a motion and a second from the commissioner from the first. Seeing no discussion, we're voting.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Attorney Brown, last
And
motion.
finally, we request a motion to transfer property located at 239 West Vineland in Augusta, Georgia, to the Augusta, Georgia Land Bank Authority.
All right, there's a motion from the commissioner from the 9th. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from the commissioner. Mayor Pro Tem. No further discussions. We're voting.
That motion carries 7-1, with Mr. Franham voting no, Mr. Mason and Mr. Guilfoyle out.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Attorney Brown, does that conclude all our motions?
Yes, it does, sir.
Thank you. Seeing no further business, this session is now closed. And I think we have about a 12-minute break before we start the committee cycle. Thank you guys for being here.
On a personal privilege note, just want to tell everyone thank you for your prayers and support for my mom. All the cards, the flowers, and everything. Greatly appreciate all the love that I've received from the city of Augusta, all the employees, and all the commissioners. So thank y'all for what y'all done. I'd like to call public services to order. Ms. Bonner, is there any addition or deletions to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay. If there's no questions from my colleagues, I'd like to consent the following agenda items. Number 6, number 7, number 8, and number 10. 6, 7, 8, and 10. Can I get a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
It's got to be from somebody from my committee. Good try.
So
Mr.
moved.
Bobby, would-
Got a
okay.
motion? Bobby, you got a
Mrs.
second.
Pulliam and. Second. Thank
Commissioner
you.
Williams. All right. Voting, please.
Mr. Williams. Make it happen. Thank you. That motion carries with Mr. Guilfoyle absent.
All right, Ms. Bonner, if we can go top to bottom. Ms.
Okay.
Walton. Who's here to do
Ms.
that?
Delaney, is Ms. Walton? Okay.
Good afternoon. The Planning and Development Department would like to put forth a petition for a new ownership at an existing location for AN 23-34 request by Shervin Patel for retail packaged beer and wine license to be used in conjunction with In and Out Market Lottery Store located at 2657 Barton Chapel Road, District 4, Super District 9. Is there anyone in the audience who objects to this petition?
Is the petitioner in the chamber, ma'am?
The petitioner is here.
Will you have him come up and give
Yep.
us his name and address?
Yes.
No objectors noted.
Okay.
Mr. Patel, could you please come to the microphone?
And I don't see him.
Wrong one. Okay.
All right, we'll move
Is
that
he
one.
not here? Okay,
I thought he was. I was looking at the wrong person. I apologize.
okay.
We'll just move that one to next full
All right.
commission.
With
Okay.
no recommendation.
Okay.
Okay. The
Yep.
next application, sorry about that. Let me make sure this person is here. Alcohol petition 23-35 located at 3735 Mike Paget Highway. Applicant is Jaden Kamur Sutar. Please come forward. While he's coming forward, is there anyone in the chambers that objects to this petition?
None noted.
Okay, we'll ask you to speak your name and address.
I'm the Jayendra Kumar Suthar, and I'm applying an alcohol license at 3735 Mike Paget Highway, Augusta, Georgia,
What did-
30906.
Give me your home address, sir.
1324 Highborn Drive, Augusta, Georgia, 30906.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve?
The sheriff has reviewed the application and the Planning and Development Department has reviewed it and recommends approval.
Sorry.
So be it. Approval.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Voting, please.
Sir.
It's unanimous.
Agenda item number 3.
All right. Our next petition is AN 23-36. It's in regards to a new ownership existing location for 3671 Peach Orchard Road. Is the applicant here? There he is. Okay. All right. This is a request from Irfan Udin for a retail package shop. And Planning and Development has reviewed the application along with the Sheriff's Department, and they are recommending approval. Sir, if you'd please give your name and home address into the microphone.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Irfan Udin, and my home address is 3204 Josie Street, Panama City, Florida, 32404.
Thank you. Does anybody object to this alcohol petition in the audience? None noted. Can I get a motion to approve?
Approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Voting, please.
It's unanimous.
Next agenda item.
All right. Our next alcohol application is for new ownership, existing location, AN 23-37 is the request by Jay Wolzakak. On-premise consumption, liquor, beer, and wine license to be used in conjunction with the First Watch located at 630 Crane Creek Drive, Suite 405. Is the applicant here? All right. Is there anyone in the audience that's in objection to this application? Seeing none, the Planning and Development Department, along with the Sheriff's Office, does recommend approval. Please come forward and state your name and address into the microphone.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Hayworth. My address is 17 East 31st Street, Savannah, Georgia.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
So be it.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Voting, please.
It's unanimous.
All right. Our next alcohol application, AN 23-38, is a request by Emmanuel Hotzies for a consumption on-premise liquor license to be used in connection with Manny Sports off Broad Street, located at 215 10th Street. Is Mr. Hotzies here? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that is opposed to this application? All right. The Planning and Development Department, along with the Sheriff's Department, has reviewed the application and recommends approval. If you'll please state your name and your home address.
Emmanuel Hatches, 1008 Adrian Street.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So be it.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Voting, please.
It's unanimous.
All right. Agenda item number 9, please.
Item number 9 is an update on City Serve from the committee chairman and any needs from the city of Augusta.
All right. Thank you so much. I know Luke's here. Luke, if you could come forward. Wanted to make sure that some of the new commissioners understand the impact that City Serve has done over the years. And if you haven't had the opportunity to meet Luke or see his face or even kind of give a project recommendation within your district on October 7th, they will be cleaning up every district. Their teams that go around and really make an impact. I'm going to let him speak about what their main focus is this year, but I want to make sure just to give you opportunity to kind of explain to all of the commissioners kind of where we are, what and how things are going. So, Luke, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Luke Nide, 502 Salterton Way, Martinez, Georgia.
Can you come a little bit closer to the mic for me?
Yep. Luke Nide, 502 Salterton Way, Martinez, Georgia.
Thank you.
So, welcome, commissioners. Glad to see you guys today. I'm a pastor here at First Presbyterian Church. I'm the outreach pastor there. And I've been in charge of City Serve now for the last 4 years following the leadership of Rick Karoglian. But City Serve started as a national organization under the Louis Palau organization in Washington, D.C., or in Washington State about 10 years ago. We brought it here in 2017. Since that time, we've completed over 115 projects with over 21,000 volunteer hours completed here in the Augusta area. Our job or our goal is to take community members, nonprofits, and churches and get them to volunteer to make our city better. So that's why we call it City Serve. But our goal has been how do we make our city better? We've done that in a variety of different ways, from litter pickup to house demos to creating hygiene bags for the homeless, to doing work at the DFACS office when it burned, to cleaning up parks, beautifications, illegal dump sites, and even median beautification. This year, our theme for City Serve is resilience and creating a resilient city. Our date is going to be October 7th. We'll be working from 9 to 12. We hope to have about 500 to 600 volunteers this year. We'll be focusing on 16 different projects across the CSRA, or they're all in Richmond County. But some of these will be working on the local historical markers on Laney Walker Boulevard. Some of them are some of the prominent headstones in the cemeteries there. And our goal is to plant over 100 trees at different locations in places where some of our under-resourced citizens reside, so that hopefully we can create a resilient city and food sustainability to go there. We're also hoping to work on the East Augusta sign as recommended by Commissioner Jordan. And we'll have some trash pickup around places where homeless encampments are known to exist. So that's our plan for this year. We're really thankful for the people who have partnered with us, particularly the Marshal's Office with Sean Rhodes and Terry Norman, with the Sheriff's Office with Kelly Walker and 311. And we would like to ask that, how do we get engineering and environmental services to help? In the past, when we had Keep Augusta Beautiful, that organization was running, we had a lot of help from there. As you can imagine, when you pick up a lot of trash, you have to dispose of it in the landfill. So that becomes a problem for us if we don't work with the city. So we would recommend, is there some way we could get you guys to work with us or direct engineering to help us in that way?
Okay, Luke, when you speak to that, are you talking about dumpsters, trash bags? Like what are you, and I know Mr. Charles Jackson has been vital. I mean, he's been in lots of meetings about this, but I want to make sure that we connect here to.
Yeah, so in the past at our, we have a planning team, and we've asked engineering to be a part of that planning team to help us coordinate that before we get to that event. And Rachel Miller has been a part of sitting in on that for many years. And this year, Rachel has not been allowed to be a part of that. So our request would be, could we get Rachel or somebody else from that office to come and sit in on these planning meetings so that we can partner properly with the city as we dispose of that waste?
Okay. So I guess my thoughts is that this body would kind of direct Mr. Jackson to kind of have that conversation to make sure that engineering has a seat at the table as well as environmental services, because the amount of impact that this does for our communities is awesome. And the fact that it goes into every district and makes an impact from east to west to south, I think is important. Is there any questions from my colleagues about CityServe or your project in your district or anything like that? Commissioner Pulliam.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Since you said questions about projects that are potentially in our district, what projects are slated for District 2?
I'm not sure the boundaries of District
Okay.
2, but we have projects all over the city.
Okay. So, is there a list of those
There is a
projects
list of
that's
projects. I
available
have a
for you to give
flyer.
out?
I have
Okay.
a flyer for you guys. Oh, I'm sorry. That you can click on the code and it'll take you to the 16 projects that we have for this year that are out. So.
And are you full on the number of projects that you can do, Luke? Okay, because there might be something that the commissioners want to have. And I think that's the reason I put this on because I want to make sure that there's commission buy-in, commission support. We all have networks that we need to get people out there. And if we can't be out there, then let's get our neighborhood associations that are in each one of our districts out there to try to make a bigger impact. I mean, I know last year we had like 30 people behind the McDonald's on Boy Scout Road and really made a huge impact of cutting things and moving debris and that sort of thing just in my district. And we did Washington Road up through I-20. So, all right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Can I get a motion to receive his information?
Receive his information.
Second. All right. And Luke, we'll make sure to connect you. Mr. Jackson's in the front row here, and we'll make sure that he gets the support from the engineering side and that you feel that you've gotten in the past for sure. Okay. Thank you. All right. We don't need to vote, Ms. Bonner.
Without objection.
Without
we'll say.
objection. Okay. Number 11, please.
Item number 11 is to discuss the BYOB Pedal Pub.
All right.
Commissioner Johnson.
Oh, Commissioner Jordan Johnson.
Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item is coming before us today. The owners of Pedal Pub are here. They requested that the commission hear a specific request as it relates to the actual pub that they use in downtown. If you've been downtown Augusta at any point this year, on Friday or Saturday, any night for that matter, you'll see that there's a new attraction that people are on. It's like a moving party, so to speak, and it's going all up and down Broad Street. And for a few hours, you're the center of attention on Broad. Like you're going from spot to spot, eating, having fun, and it's really cool to just watch. But there's a component that the owners have asked the commission to hear, and they asked us maybe a year or so ago, but they were still going through the planning process. But now they've got what they needed. They've had their grand opening. Many of us attended, and I believe that they have a specific request for us today. So I will ask Mr. Chairman if it's fine with you, sir, to give them an opportunity to come up and present. There's also a presentation that they've sent in that Ms. McFarley is in your email. If we can get it and maybe have it put up on the screen.
Is that possible, or is that kind of too? Can we just email it?
If not, they can present verbally. It's fine. Oh, okay.
Can't get it. Okay, if y'all want to come forward. And if you can state your name and address for the record, if you're both.
Good afternoon. I'm Charity Jones. Our address is 305 12th Street, Augusta, Georgia, 30901.
I'm Anthony Jones. I assume that you wanted our home address.
Yes, sir.
That's 4597 Logan's Way, Augusta, Georgia, 30909.
Thank you. Okay. Your request today, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You come on too. Yes, she covered it. Okay. And that's Sedaris Manuel. Also, all three of us are the owners of Pedal Pub of Augusta. So she came in right on time with the printout. So that's great. Yes, here I come to save the day. Okay. Do you want us to just kind of start talking?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
We got the presentation.
Yes, and we, again, I'm Charity Jones, and we are all the owners of Pedal Pub of Augusta. We have come before you, like Mr. Johnson said, Commissioner Johnson said, over a year ago, and we have been in operation and doing quite well, and we're very happy to have the opportunity to conduct our business here in Augusta. But there's one component that we need to be able to compete with the other areas of pedal pubs that are across the United States that would help us be able to get our business to the next level. As you know, we are a 15-passenger party bike company, and we're in many states over the United States. But the main thing is that we need to be able to have our bring BYOB on our bikes, and that would be just, we have a driver, pilot that conducts the tours, and that person is designated to do just that. And then we have the 15 passengers that are on the bikes. But we really just need to be able to have the opportunity for our customers to be able to bring their, drinks onto the bike. There's more components to that. I'm going to let Sedaris expound a little more, and she could talk about a little more on it as well. And we can go by the PDF. All right, and here it is, right?
Hello, everyone. As you know, Pedal Pub is a franchise. We're operated in over 50 different locations, and all the locations have BYOB on their bikes except the Augusta location. We currently operate in Savannah as well as Columbus, which are other Georgia states that allow alcohol on their bikes, and we are the only city that does not allow it to have. So it puts us at a disadvantage to the other locations, whereas, and if people want to enjoy that feature, they're willing to travel and go to neighboring cities such as Charlotte, such as Columbus, such as Savannah, to enjoy that feature that we are unable to offer at this time. So in order for us to keep our dollars, our tourist dollars here within the city of Augusta, we're asking that you allow us to be able to have BYOB on our bikes to be competitive with other tourist companies in the surrounding areas. The PowerPoint outlines our safety procedures and methods that is standard within all of our bikes from there. I'm not going to go read all through it, but we just ask that you guys take the opportunity to allow us this feature from there.
And we have had different customers to say to us directly, why ride yours when we can go to Savannah, it's an hour or so away, or go to Charlotte or the other areas? Why don't you guys have that feature on your bikes opposed to the other areas? And only thing we can say is that's the rules of the area, so we have to go with that. And again, we have a designated driver. He or she is the pilot. So that person would take these people around just like how you would do in a limousine. It's the same exact way. The only difference is our bikes are open to the air, and whereas in this enclosed in a limo. But it's the exact same rules, regulations we would follow in that matter. And we do not allow hard alcohol or like your and no bottles on the bike. It would be like your beer or seltzers type of thing, or just like maybe a little drink or something. But there would not be any hard liquor type things on the bikes.
And then one unique thing about our bikes is that it's 80% pedaling and 20% battery operated. So whereas and you do have a limousine with someone actually driving, ours is a bicycle. So you know, it goes no more than 5 to 10 miles per hour. With that being said.
But also with that being said, you're only on the bike anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half.
Well, I appreciate y'all and Commissioner Johnson bringing this forward. 5 years ago, we talked about an entertainment district, and I think, again, this falls right into it, of where the bike would only be able to be in that certain area. And we talked about an open container aspect that I still think that we probably need to look at from a City of Augusta standpoint. But at the end of the day, like for us, we've got to get the sheriff on board for this. I mean, that's really where it's going to stop or go, because he kind of has the ultimate say in some respects on this from a safety standpoint, a law enforcement standpoint. But I hope that the commission is willing to have that conversation, because I do think this is something we need to look at. I'm going to go back to Commissioner Johnson and then to Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for Ms. Delaney, Director Delaney, if you can come. I know you know that was coming next, I'm sure, right? You can come just for a moment, please. Would there be anything that the commission, any type of action the commission would have to take in order to make this possible for what they're asking BYOB on their bikes? Would we have to amend an ordinance or anything like that? Or
the commission in, I believe it was June, authorized the Planning and Development Department to review and revisit the alcohol ordinance. We have a draft that we would like to present in October, but more importantly, it all hinges on whether or not we establish this entertainment district, because you have to have some boundaries. So we can't move away from that. We want to make sure that the entertainment is safe and that there are parameters within it. So you can't have one without the other, or you shouldn't have one without the other. The entertainment district does need to happen, and we have put it in the budget to write that for next year. But the alcohol ordinance draft update will be ready in October.
but there wouldn't be any type of like exception that we can put in place to keep the bike from having to just be in one section? Because what are the boundaries that you all take right now? Come to the mic.
We operate under the personal PVT, what is it, the personal vehicle, the golf cart area. So that's our map area that we operate within.
Okay, so that's roughly, what's that, 9th Street to 11th Street, 10th Street to 11th Street, that area?
Reynolds, the border of Reynolds, Broad, I think a little bit of Ellis on up to, 7th to 13th. I think that's the corridor.
So that would essentially be what the entertainment district boundaries would be, if that's what I'm understanding correctly, right, Ms. Delaney?
It could be.
Okay. So the recommended action today would be what, to just allow the entertainment district or the Ackinac ordinance conversation to be brought for us in October? Or
It would be to receive this as information, because the alcohol ordinance is coming before you in October. I don't have an exception to the rule, but of course, as the commission, you could work with legal to figure out if we could do something different. I will say that the draft that we have coming before you is not going to have a BYOB or brown bagging component because of safety and the absence of an entertainment district. So if we could incorporate that, then we'd be in a better position. But we did do quite a few updates.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Bobby Williams.
Yeah, Commissioner Johnson pretty much covered my questions, but also when we do that update on the ordinance, can we look at what places like Savannah and Charleston?
We did. We used about 9 cities. We did a comparison. We have an analysis. We have a chart. We didn't just look at Savannah only. We looked at other riverfront cities and cities of a similar size, and, including Columbus, Georgia. Okay, and
when it comes to this entertainment district, I'm like Commissioner Jordan here. Does what we do with the entertainment district also contain something or an exception or what have you for a bike?
I wouldn't be in a good position to speak about that. That we do have to speak with the sheriff's department in regards to that, because I'm not in a good position to say that. But I will say that the draft that we put forward does not have a biking component. Again, you got alcohol, you got.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but if it doesn't cover a bike, does that leave the bike to do what it wants to do? You don't have to answer that. But those are some questions that we may need to answer in the future.
Right.
Okay. All right. So.
All right. Commissioner Johnson, any further, any thoughts?
Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm just communicating correctly what I'm thinking here. On one end, when I think of an entertainment district, I'm thinking of a place that is the specific place that we can market for people to go and just have fun. You have certain districts across the nation where folks just know to go. In Austin, it was what, Dirty Six, right? They told you if you wanted a certain vibe, you go to that side of town, right? And I think that we could create that in Augusta. Mm-hmm. But I guess what I'm more so thinking about here with the Pedal Pub is that, and again, I'm not the expert, I'm just dumping my brain out, is that I don't know if they should have to absolutely be confined to this one district because of what they're doing. I'm thinking with the entertainment district, there's a set side of Broad Street or there's a set part of downtown where you can have open container, you can stay open longer. There's certain things that you can do in just this section that you can't do in the other section. I just want to make sure that I'm clear as to how what they're doing with the Pedal Pub would fit into the whole concept of just a zone, a district. Or would that just be something that we expand throughout the entire downtown corridor? Because say you are a bar or you're a fun restaurant, say we get like a Stars and Stripes type of vibe place downtown, but it's on the lower end, and they're not in the entertainment district. You know, how would that affect what they do? How would that affect the business on the other end versus what we designate as the entertainment district? So on one end, creating something unique with the district, but also giving them the ability to expand what they're doing. And it's not just for them. We had the same conversation for the Axe Throwing Room about 2 years ago. So how do we incorporate all this together so we can create something unique, but also give businesses like this and others a little leeway to be able to create something unique of their own? So I guess that's just what my thoughts are. And if we have to wait till October to have that conversation, I say let's do it together versus alcohol, then entertainment. Let's bring it all together at once.
So you said a lot, but I want to say that you do want to do the entertainment district. This has been something that's 7-8 years in discussion. Because what you have to remember is we also don't have a parking management system downtown, and more importantly, you have businesses that already exist, and you have to look at the impact of changing the rules, for one, without having an avenue for everyone to speak. So we want to look at we want to be cognizant of the impact on existing businesses in the downtown area, parking, travel. Just there are several factors that play into it. It's not. We want to make sure we're not looking at it in an isolated incident. And like I said, we definitely looked at multiple counties, multiple cities, and I didn't find one that did not have a designated area. They all had a designated area.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Can I get a motion to receive as information?
Second.
Okay, sure. One last thing.
Say that I understand everything with the BYOB and the open container laws in the area, but we also are a separate business. That if you have a limo and you're riding around with the drinks and you have a designated driver that knows the rules and that sort of thing, I just don't understand how we could be looped into it being open container, like you walking around or doing whatever with the drinks. We're actually a company that it's confined to our bikes. It's not off. It's strictly to our customers that we have, and we have all legal aspects with our riders. We have our waivers, we have our information, and all that. It's designated to our company, and it's like a part of what we need to operate to our fullest, to the area. So I just wanted to make that point to say that we have to put in perspective that we are a unique niche to company, and that's something that's a part of us to be able to withstand and to still operate and continue to be here.
No, I appreciate that, and that's why I think that I would recommend over the next, month that the conversations with the sheriff need to happen, because I can tell you that's where it's going to stop or go, because at the end of the day, that's going to be the safety's the biggest issue, I think. Okay, I got a motion and a second to receive his information. Is that without objection? Okay. All right. Thank y'all so much for coming, and that concludes public services. Thank you, committee.
All right, we'll call Finance Committee to order. There are addendums. I believe Ms. Bonner passed out the addendum list. I have misplaced mine. Are there any additional addendums, Ms. Bonner?
Sir.
Are there any deletions?
No, sir.
Okay. I have completely misplaced. Here it is. Okay, so if that's the order, would the committee hear item number? Which one?
I beg your pardon?
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got to receive him on the agenda first.
I was heading there next.
Yes, sir.
Does the committee accept these addendum items? Yes. Okay, so there's no objection to either items, Ms. Bonner.
We're going to post them on the screen.
Okay. And while you do that, I would like to offer as a consent agenda items 2, items 4, and we would defer item 3 to the next Finance Committee meeting.
Next committee?
Yes, ma'am.
We'll just add that to the consent for that action.
All right. If there are no objections, could I get a motion to the effect?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Voting.
That motion carries with Mr. Guilfoyle absent.
All right, let's go to item 1 on the addendum.
Item number 1, Mr. Moses Todd. I love Augusta.
The addendum. Number 1 on the addendum.
On the addendum.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Okay. Item number 1 is motion to go cashless in all government departments and those agencies that work with the government effective January 1st, 2024. Commissioner Franham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In talking to different entities and department heads, and I know that it was, as Administrator Dowse mentioned, it was a little bit of this was in her right-sizing plan. I think it's important that we look to where we can, understanding that not every department is going to be able to do this, but we go cashless. The cashless aspect of how we take money at different events, whether that's Sunday Night Jazz, whether that's an entity that we give money to, like Arts in the Heart, that takes cash, it's time to stop doing that. There's just not, it's untrackable. We don't have good SOPs in process. If we're taking cash at the landfill, it is really time that we kind of make sure that within these different entities that I've mentioned, and there's others, that we create a process, standard SOPs in taking cash. Like, there's a cash receipt book, and every, the customer gets one, we get one, and there's specific, receipt with the cash. Because it seems like that we have too many entities where maybe we don't have, numbered badges. Maybe we don't even take badges. Who's taking in the money? Where's the money going? Maybe volunteers are taking the money in. And it just it's past time to look at this. I understand that a department like the water department, where 25% of their revenue comes from cash, maybe not possible, but could we, look to, tell the customer that, in the future you're going to have to get some kind of cards, or you're going to have, most people do have debit cards, but there's still a population that pays with cash, and I understand that. But what is that process that we're taking in the money from the utilities department, and how are we making and holding it accountable to make sure that every dime is taken in and that everything is correct? So I hope that we can start this conversation understanding that it's not going to be a one-size-fits-one. Some departments it might not work, but in other departments I do think that it gives us the ability to put standard operating procedures in place to where we can better track cash in the future. And again, this is green cash. I'm not talking about checks. I understand people still have to write checks, especially the older people. I still write checks, and people make fun of me. But I hope, Mr. Chairman, that we can have this conversation, because I think this streamlines things. It helps to take the what ifs and things of people possibly taking cash. And so I just want to start the conversation today, hoping that we can continue this conversation into making things better here in our government. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. I recognize Commissioner from the 5th.
I know. She knows I'm gonna call her.
Can we get you to speak in your mic, Mr. Williams?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
She knows I'm gonna call her. Do I need to call her name?
Come on up, Ms. Williams.
Ms. Donna Williams. How you doing today?
No, don't work that way.
I don't really have a question. I'm not for nor against or what have you. So, just from a finance department chairperson's point of view, tell me what you think about going cashless.
Well, I think Commissioner Phantom has already kind of soften the impact of the item that is shown on the screen by stating that there are some departments that are going to have some challenges doing this, such as utilities. I had already checked with them as well and was told somewhere between 15 and 25% was their level of cash transactions. Other departments are not that heavily weighted towards cash. The landfill is a little over 1%. We did some statistical analysis on 2 months this year and did an average, and that was what the landfill is. Now, percentages are a little they don't necessarily give you the whole picture. That one percentage for the landfill is about $16,000 a month in cash transactions. That's people going over their scales. Now, they do use what you stated. They have a receipt books. Those receipt books are pre-numbered. They are tracked back to deposit slips. There are internal control procedures that exist in these departments, which always, need to be reviewed, updated, and it's a continuous process. Now, your animal services, about 50% of their adoptions are done by cash. That 50% is only about $2,000, but that's 50% of what they do. And there are some folks that do experience challenges. They do not have debit cards. They do not have credit cards. There are a lot of folks that do operate with cash. So decisions would have to be made regarding our internal departments as to whether or not we force the public to go that route. I did poll ACCG and was told that there is currently no government in the state of Georgia that has gone cashless for accepting revenue. That was as end of last week. That's not to say we can't be the first. Like I said, there are some challenges. It needs to be a thoughtful process to gauge the impact on your citizens. To be quite frank, what does worry me is the other piece of this, agencies that we do business with. I'm not 100% sure that we are in a position, certainly we can recommend, certainly it can be built into an MOU, where you can require an outside entity to adhere to your financial procedures. I don't know the answer to that question. You can highly recommend that things are controlled. You can make some suggestions, but I don't know if you can impose those restrictions on agencies that are not under your complete financial control. You know, the health department, I mean, that's one. I mean, they receive monies from us. In conversation with Commissioner Frantham, he said, you know, and if I misunderstood, I apologize, but anybody that receives money from our budget. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. I'm not sure how you would even police or enforce that. But those are my thoughts in regard to this without further study.
Gotcha. One other person, the administrator.
Ms. Downs?
You got any thoughts on this?
No further comment.
No further comment. I'm going to ask you some questions then. You're good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Williams.
All right, Commissioner from the 8th, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a question, and I'm not sure this would be for the administrator or for Ms. Williams. So in some of these departments that operate, you know, events, weekend events, things like that, where cash does seem to be probably the primary mode of buying in tickets or whatever, what are the policies that are in place to manage that money, especially after hours and on the weekends?
You say the departments, and most of those after-hours events are through the recreation department? Okay, so I would need some assistance from the director to tell me what his level prior to the reporting of the receipts and deposit slips.
So you're
what
saying
the handling is. The finance department does not handle that money until we just record the revenue after those deposit slips are presented to us. So
there's no automatic reporting after the event, like they don't send, this is how much we took in tonight and send it to your department?
They don't send that to me, no sir. Now what? Because they've got events every day, every weekend. So that is not a level of, I'm just
trying to understand the level of accountability, which is kind of the reason why we're having this discussion around, would it be better to go cashless? And you know, that way at least we're able to account for dollars that are coming in and dollars that are going out.
Right.
And so if the director from Parks and Rec wants to speak towards this, I'd love to hear what that looks like, at least from an accounting standpoint as these events are taking place.
Mr. McDowell?
Good afternoon. As it relates to our events, and again, I've had these conversations with Commissioner Frantham. We're doing everything in our power to move to a cashless process. We started that probably over a year ago, trying to get the appropriate infrastructure in place. This year at our Kind of Like Jazz Series was the first year we offered patrons the opportunity to pay with debit cards, et cetera. So we're moving in that direction. I don't want to say publicly what we do in terms of what we do with our cash after an event. We make deposit at the next business day, but we do have measures in place to receive that cash, to make sure that cash is safe. We receipt that, and then we take it and make a deposit on the next business day. And then, of course, once we make those deposits, that's when finance have access. Also to any of those deposit slips and stuff, it comes back to us and also to finance to manage those accounts where we receive revenue in.
Okay. I appreciate that, and that's actually a much more robust answer than I was looking for, so I appreciate that.
Good. Okay, Commissioner from the 7th.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the dialogue. I appreciate the questions, and Donna, what you said. I appreciate that, and I mean, I understand that, you know, we're not going to be able to tell certain people that they can't take cash, but I think we can set some guidelines in this government more than we currently have, and you know, just like the landfill, and you might be able to answer this. I don't know. You said, you know, 1% $16,000 in transactions that come through based on the load that they're coming through that this person takes in cash. Is that process where it's on a computer screen and that take the cash from on the computer screen, you print the receipt and the cash is with the receipt? Or is it they drive across it, the guy says, oh, it's $20, and they keep moving, they take $20 and they keep moving? That's the stuff I'm talking about that I think that we're got to watch.
Right.
And do you know that answer?
No,
And see, that's my point. Like, there should be a physical receipt for any time we have cash across every department from
They
an
do have
SOP standpoint.
receipts. Yes, that information is maybe, I don't know who's here from the landfill, but they do have a computerized system where when people cross the scales, it does generate, I believe they call it a weigh ticket, and there is a report that tracks all the weigh tickets to the method that by which they are paid.
Okay.
So all that could be ticked and tied back into a financial report. The other area that you're going to experience some challenges with this process is transit.
I'm sure.
Yes. So you're going to have an enlightened conversation about the controls that are currently in place, if those controls need to be enhanced, and pick and choose which areas are primed for moving to cashless instead of just a carte blanche, everything goes.
Yeah.
I think that would be a process that we could explore, and that the time frame that's kind of mentioned up there on the board is going to be pretty difficult to get to. Middle of next year
Right.
probably would be a more.
Well, again, my goal was to continue the conversation, and I hope my colleagues will. I've only got 16 months left, but I think this is something that we need to look at because most governments, though they might not do it all, they are moving to more of a cashless government in most departments. Now, I'm not saying there's not one government, as you stated, that's gone cashless across the board, but I think this is an accountability thing that we need to do better on. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Is there any further discussion on this item? If not, we'll obtain a motion from a member of the committee.
Motion to receive as information.
There's a motion to receive from information from the commissioner from the second, a second from the commissioner from the ninth. Voting, Ms. Bonner.
It's unanimous with Mr. Guilfoyle absent.
Number 2 on the addendum.
Item number 2 is a motion to approve allocating funding in the amount of $50,000 to Garden City Rescue Mission using CDBG as the funding source.
Thank you, Ms. Bonner. I'm going to ask that Mr. Patrick comes forward. He's the executive director of the Garden City Rescue Mission. He'll share with us what's going on over at Garden City and some of the good work that they're doing. And I will hope that this committee would consider helping them reach their goals by approving the allocation in your books. So, Patrick, the floor is yours.
Okay. Right now we have raised.
Before you start, Patrick, I'm sorry. Can you state your name and address for the record?
Patrick Feastel, Feistel. I live at 911 Murrah Forest Drive in North Augusta, South Carolina.
All right.
And we have been at the Garden City Rescue Mission has been in existence for 22 years. May of this year was 22 years, and original contract was set to be rent free. We just had to take care of the taxes every year, and then we've been coming back, and then the city has been gracious to abate our taxes every year for us. And in May of this year, or March of this year, our lease agreement came up again. It was renewed every 5 years. The original owner died 5 years ago, and now it's passed on to their family, and their family has decided to liquidate the property. And so we have been given the sole opportunity to purchase it after we've been there for 22 years, and they've given us 4 months to raise $495,000. The Garden City Rescue Mission property is right next to the courthouse on Fenwick Street, and it consists of our 2-story building where we house the homeless gentlemen right now, and we have 2 parking lots, and then the old soup kitchen right next to the courthouse. All 4 of those parcels are a part of this, and we are at $415,807 and I think 94 cents right now as of this morning. That has been raised, and we have 2 more days to raise that money.
And once we reach this goal, we have a lot of vision and dream hopes to enhance and expand the Garden City Rescue Mission Ministry. We house about 60 men every night off the streets, and about 400 different men every year stay in our shelter. And these are men from all over the country, but a lot of these are local folks who just are in hard times, and we get to help them. And we average, I think, we had 40 that moved on into permanent housing off the streets, just our last numbers. But I would say it's we typically about 100 of those 400 people every year end up off the streets because they got to stay with us.
Thank you, Patrick. Are there any comments or questions from the committee? Commissioner from the 9th.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask the gentleman a question. The stay is for only one night at your facility right now?
No, ma'am. These men stay. We have some that we don't have a time limit per se. 90-day is a cap that we put just in place, but a lot of fellows have been there longer. They don't have any other options. We don't really have a time frame, except when somebody. We don't want to become a hotel for homeless folks. We want this ministry to be a stepping stone for people to get off the streets. Everybody doesn't want off the streets right now.
And do you provide a wraparound service during the stay?
When you say wraparound?
Do you provide any services, like whatever they need to get to the next level outside of your where they're staying? Do you have job leads? Do you do?
Yes, ma'am. We have we offer work slips. I think we have right now about 20 men that stay with us that have full-time jobs, and they get work slips, and they come in at different hours. We provide breakfast and dinner for all of our emergency guests, overnight guests. And then we also offer the whole upstairs of our facility is a recovery program for men getting substance abuse help, and we disciple these men and help them to grow. And these men, after a 4-month lock-in period, then they go to work and stay accountable to us and can stay with us for over a year of raising money, saving money, and paying off fines, fees, debts, or anything they might have had in the past. When a man's life has been so messed up for such a long time, it's going to take them more than 30 days or 6 months, sometimes even a year, to get to where they can stay in a stable way, get back out on the feet.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner from the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pastor, thank you for all that you do and what you do. My question is for the administrator. Administrator, we talked earlier about asking you about the CDBG funds and how we've supported entities like this before. I just think that it's important that the community hears what we did support before that you mentioned to me, and just so we have that on record.
Yep.
Sure. Our Community Development Block Grant offers the ability for us to utilize funding that is allocated for our improvements of public facilities. In this particular case, we are hoping that the Garden City Rescue Mission would be able to fall up under those eligibility guidelines. It would require some additional conversation taking place within the next couple of days. But at this point, we do feel pretty confident that this would be a plausible path forward.
And we did this before with?
We've done this several times, most recently, and Director Welcher, if you could just confirm with a nod that this was the pathway used for the Hope Center, I think that's the name of it, the Purpose Center, excuse me, and that's over behind Josie High School.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other questions or comments from any members of the committee or the commission? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion from the commissioner from the 2nd, a second from the commissioner from the 9th. Voting.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Ms. Bonner. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, committee. All right, number 1 on the main agenda.
Okay. Item number 1, Mr. Moses Todd, I Love Augusta, presentation of a letter of support for retention pay for Public Safety, Sheriff's Department, Fire Department, fiscal year 24 budget, revenue bonds for expansion of the jail.
Mr. Todd, welcome back, sir. If you would, give us your name and address for the record.
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Mayor, Moses Todd, 2747 Deansbridge Road, Augusta, Georgia. I wanted in that the budget process is getting ready to start. Approximately 3 weeks ago, I reached out to the clerk's office and let her know that, you know, it wasn't urgent that I be placed on an agenda soon, but when it didn't have such workload, and I know y'all have workloads all the time, a pretty good workload all the time, that I'd appreciate to be put on the agenda at first opportunity. And I'm glad to be here today to talk about and I'm gonna start out with the new jail pod. In 1992, I was running for county commission and got involved or interested in the $64 million jail that the Citizen Jail Committee was proposing that we build at 4th Street and Walton Way. Just a little bit of history. So I was elected in 93, took office 92, took office in 93. In 94, the late Willie Mays, chairman of the commission, you know, wanted me to take the lead on the jail project, and I did. And we come up with the pod concept. And it was a gentleman that come up with this, you know, I'm not that smart, was Barney Stasewski. Many of you will remember him, the late Barney Stasewski, from his letters to the editor. He was a conservative that was hard to work with, but, you know, if you're willing to look for solutions, then you work with who's there. So he come up with the pod concept, and we hired a company out of Atlanta to come in to do the project. We repurposed or reconfigured the concept of building from building a $64 million jail to doing one to take care of the needed bed space at that time at $31 million. And we brought it in actually $1 million under that. The concept at the time, or the perception at the time, was that the federal courts had ordered us to do additional jail space. We were in a court retreat, true, but the jail committee agreed to the methodology, so we moved to Phoenix Road versus 4th Street. The concept was that we could add a pod as we needed, and there's been pods added at Phoenix Road. The problem is that when you closed the jail downtown and decided and moved all the inmates out, you didn't do additional pods to compensate that. Now, I understand that we can't lock our way up out of the crime problem and the jail bed space problem, but with using different approach, you know, we can, you know, provide decent lockup space for those folks that we are afraid of. We don't need to lock up everybody, you know, but it's my understanding from the sheriff's report that there's a lot of folks over there that's locked up that we probably should be afraid of. And I don't have a problem there. So I'm recommending that you take the necessary approach, whether it's, you know, going out for revenue bond and the participation bonds, as far as the next sales tax, special purpose option sales tax 9 go, that we go on and do that, and we take that initiative and we do that, and we can also, under that, do the renovation, which is not maintenance, for the existing jail, kitchen, administration office, and other needs out there. My thoughts, Mr. Chairman, on the retention pay is that when you do retention pay or pay raises, that's a forever cost to the taxpayers. But if you think outside the box a little bit and do retention pay in a additional check per year or an additional half check per month every 6 months, that gives you the individuals the incentive to stay, and you're not obligated for 30 years or 40 years of a pay raise. Many of the unions is doing that with their pensions, and many private sector pensions is doing this. The actuary is telling us that you don't have the same burden if you give a 3% raise or 6% raise. You can stop it at any time that you want to. There may not be a need, as far as inflation go or other economical conditions go, in 6 years to continue the extra check or half a check 2 times a month or 1 time a month, or ever how you want to do that. So those are my thoughts, with the budget coming up, and I'll be back before you at the budget hearings with other suggestions in other areas that I'm not on the agenda to talk about now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Chairman, for the time to address the commission. And I'd like to take a point of privilege to invite you to an event, ribbon cutting event at 1255 Telfair Street tomorrow at 4 p.m. That will be conducted by 150 in the Augusta Chamber of Commerce. And consider that an invitation if you have the time. I'm not going to be able to stay to see the rest of the meeting because I got to get back over there because we were planning for 2 major events, and now one's been postponed, but I need to get back on the footprint. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Todd. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Todd from the committee, the commission? Hearing none, thank you, sir, for always coming before us to keep us abreast on what's going on. Thank you. Can we have a motion to receive his information? There's a motion from Commissioner from the 9th.
Second.
There's a second from the Commissioner from the 2nd. Can we take it without objection, Ms. Bonner? Yes, sir. Without objection. Thank you. Is there any other business before the Finance Committee? Seeing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, committee.
All right, I'd like to call public safety to order. Ms. Bonner, are there any additions or deletions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, if my colleagues have no objections, I would like to consent items number, 1, let's see, and 3.
So moved.
I got a motion, do I have a second? All right, motion second, voting.
That motion carries with Mr. Mason absent today.
All right, going back to number 2.
Okay. Item number 2 is Dr. Donna Moran regarding conditions at the jail and suggest examining the courts in the right sizing plan.
All right.
Dr. Moran.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Dr. Donna Moran, and I live at 1833 Kissing Bower Road. I'm here today because 2 weeks ago, the Public Safety Committee wanted to speak on conditions at the jail but didn't have a quorum, and so I thought I'd be speaking while that agenda item was on, but I don't see that discussion happening in this committee today, so I'll just speak on it. Every time we delay this discussion, conditions get infinitely worse. Even just since the last committee meeting 2 weeks ago, we had our first death in the jail in the last 3 years, a teenage girl, Miss Stacy Lopez. And that's one of a few horrors that are going on in our facility. Through my court watching, I hear about the rationing of food, the lack of basic medications like insulin, sometimes a lack of electricity or water. And so we need to be having these discussions and doing this work so that as I just heard from Mr. Moses, I didn't know that history, that we used to be under a consent decree, and it looks like the way we're going to be there again, whether the state, the feds, or a nonprofit with a litigation arm will come and tell us that our conditions are unacceptable. I sent all of you in your email this morning several suggestions of how we can address these conditions. Some are small and self-contained that you could do yourselves, like with our new healthcare provider that you just approved at the jail, what psychiatric services they're going to provide, because under our last contract, it was only 10 hours a week, one person for 1,000 people in the jail, and that was not nearly enough. Some of it's a little more ambitious, talking to our local partners and state partners like our Department of Community Supervision. In May and last month, you know, I get together with several volunteers quarterly to come up with the data that you guys need to address these conditions. $35 million for 200 beds is what the sheriff talked about several weeks ago. We know that roughly 100 people wait on the Department of Community Supervision to come and tell them how their probation violations will be addressed. From last month, we know that 80 people have had recent orders for mental evaluations in the jail, which occurs when someone's, you know, so far out of touch with reality that their case can't move forward. And we also know from May that 140 people would be out of the jail if they could just pay their bond. They don't have the few $100s that it takes to get out of the jail. So, you know, we are doing as much as we can as citizens to give you this information, to give you this data so that we can address the way we do business in our courts and our jails, so that we aren't seeing the violence, the overcrowding, the facility deterioration that we're currently seeing. And so I'm just here to beg you guys for like the third or fourth time to address these issues regularly so that they don't keep getting worse. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, too. Do any of my colleagues have any comments? Okay, with that being said, thank you so much.
I have a question, Commissioner.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. Go ahead,
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Johnson.
Thank you. How do we know, Administrator Dawes, this may be a question you may be able to answer. Is there a process in place to inspect the jails? Is there like do we know how often they're inspected? We hear the claims, but we never, we don't really get involved with understanding the ins and outs and how that system works. So is there, how often is the jail inspected? Does code enforcement get involved? What happens there?
So it is my understanding, Commissioner Johnson, that yes, the jail does go through a series of inspections, one in which occurred earlier this year in which they did pass. I have a representative from the sheriff's office in the audience today, so if you could nod your head that you all are in compliant. But that is from a facility standpoint, and I'm familiar with that as with the Central Services Department assisting with the maintenance contract to maintain the facility to ensure that water is operational, as well as HVAC, heating and air, and any other life-saving or life needs as it pertains to the facility aspect. In regards to the mental health capacity, I cannot speak to that. And I don't know if Ms. Freeman would like to offer any additional information at this time or not. But concerning
Could the Colonel come
the
up?
inspections,
Or
yes,
anyone?
the facility is inspected.
Okay. Yeah, and that was going to be my next question about the mental health aspect there, because I know when we started the Stepping Up initiative a few years ago, one of the biggest things was that we wanted to make sure that when folks are incarcerated, that they do have access to mental health services through a clinician, an on-site clinician. And I know that we had to, well, I won't say we, but I know that the times and the availability was cut. So I don't know if anyone from the system will be able to come up and speak to that, just so we get an idea of where we are and where we can chip in to support if possible.
In addition to Ms. Freeman, I see some other members of the sheriff's office that are present. So thank you for your
Okay.
attendance today.
Hello, Body. I have here our new vendor for our medical side, and he will discuss some of the questions about the medical questions in regards to that. Mr. Frank.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Frank Fletcher, 1504 Summer Chase, Fenton, Missouri 63026, here representing Vital Core Health Strategies. As far as the mental health services, the contract that we've negotiated with the Sheriff's Office that will go into effect January 1st does increase the level of mental health staff at the jail. specifically regarding the psychiatric component. We have a full-time psychiatric nurse practitioner that's part of the contract, in addition to the psychiatrist. And then we've also added a couple of behavioral health professionals. There are 2 there now, and we've added 2 additional for a total of 4 FTEs of behavioral health professionals in the excuse me, in the contract.
And how often are they going? How often would they be providing services?
They're full-time.
They're going to be there
40 hours a week.
Okay, and they're going to be able just on an as-needed basis, but they're going to be there. But say a client goes through a crisis, they'll be able to just go right then and there. There won't be any type of scheduling taking place. Will they have screenings during bookings? Can you kind of walk us through that process?
Yeah, as far as the scheduling, we've provided staffing both on weekends so that there'll be behavioral health professional staff there 7 days a week, and also on evenings 7 days a week. So there will be representatives there. They won't be there 24/7. There's not somebody there on night shift, but there is somebody there 7 days a week on both day shift and evening shift.
What challenges have you seen when it comes down to inmates getting access to their medications? Are you seeing challenges there?
As far as access to medications?
Because the presenter said that there was some issues with folks not having their insulin, things of that nature. Is that something that you're dealing with?
I mean, I'm not familiar with the specific issues that are going on right now, but no, inmates will have access to whatever medication is necessary.
Okay. No further questions, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Might I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I was wondering if the new mental health or the new medical provider is going to be starting in January. In this interim, would they have a partnership with our community service board, the Serenity Behavioral Health? Because at like the Athens Clark County Jail, they have a partnership where they work together. If people are receiving care outside in the community when they come into the jail, that there's continuity between the care.
Are you talking about between now and January 1st, or are you talking about post-January 1st?
Yeah, like, would you work with our public mental health provider in the interim so that when you become the operator, you guys have a partnership to work together?
Absolutely. We'd be happy to sit down and talk with them. We can't provide any service, actually, prior to January 1st, but yes, we'd be happy to sit down and talk with them and plan for what needs to take place come January 1st. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, thank you both. All right, that concludes public safety. Thank you so much, Ms. Bonner.
So we'll just take number 2 as information, okay?
Yes,
Without
receive as
objection.
information, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
I would like to call administrative service to order. Ms. Bonner, do we have any addition or deletion?
No, ma'am.
If it's okay with my committee members, I would like to consent number 2, 3, 4, and 9. Can I get a motion?
So move.
2, 3, 4, 5, and 9.
So move.
Thank you. She didn't say 5.
Commissioner
No.
Scott, I wanted
She
to
said
point
2,
out
3,
that
and
item
4.
number 4, the motion to approve the submission of the Neighborhood Access and Equity Grant application, is the first application that Daniel Evans, our new grant writer, will be submitting. It is in the amount of $1.7 million for our transit department. And I just want to make sure that this body, as well as the citizens of Augusta, recognize Daniel's efforts, Mr. Evans' efforts, in relations to grant work for Augusta.
And I believe I see him in the audience. Thank you so much, sir. We're looking for big things. If it's okay with my committee, I would like to start with, in this order, 6, 7, and 8.
6, 7, and 8. Okay, but before then, can we take the vote on the consent agenda, ma'am? We have Mr. Johnson and Mr. Tony Lewis. Can we vote? Yes. Okay, thank you. That motion carries with Mr. Franum, out. So that takes us to item number 1, Madam Chair.
No, we're gonna start with 6, 7, and 8 first.
Yeah, 6 is number 1, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 7 is number 2, and 8 is number 3, okay. Approve renaming of the Augusta Recreation Athletic Ball Fields at Diamond Lakes Regional Park, located at 4335 Windsor Spring Road, Hepzibah, Georgia, in the honor of Fred Ansel Andy Cheek III.
So moved.
Voting, Ms. Bond?
Yes, ma'am. It's unanimous. Okay. Item number 7, approve the renaming of Augusta Riverwalk Park to the name of Edward M. McIntyre Sr. Riverwalk Park, and the Augusta 8th Street Plaza to the Edward M. McIntyre Sr. Square at 8th Street, and placing his name on the entrance of the 8th Street Buckhead Archway.
So moved. Second.
Voting, Ms. Bonner?
Okay. That motion carries 3-1, with Mr. Franum voting no. Item number 8 is to approve the renaming of the Augusta Utilities Building located at 425 Walker Street, Augusta, Georgia, in honor of former Utilities Director Thomas D. Wiedmeyer, professional engineer.
Second.
Voting, Ms. Bonner?
Okay, yes, ma'am. That's unanimous.
Okay, Ms. Bonner, we could go top to bottom now.
Okay. Item number 1 is a motion to establish a collaboration with Healthy Augusta Collaborative to create a health equity action plan for Augusta, Richmond County.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put this on the agenda. I had the opportunity to meet with a few of our healthcare professionals in the city. A lot of great advocates have been talking about just how Augusta is from a health perspective and the disparities that presents itself. You know, when we talk about infrastructure, we're talking about just health-related issues. And they are asking the Commission's blessing to establish a collaboration with the Healthy Augusta Collaborative to create a health equity action plan to make sure that we're creating the most healthiest Augusta as we possibly can. And so, Madam Chair, if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask that Jennifer approaches the podium so she can kind of give some more information about what this would entail, and then we'll pass it back. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner Johnson. Jennifer Toole, 438 Old Sudlow Lake Road, North Augusta, South Carolina, 29841. A few months back, we came before the commission and talked to you guys a little bit about health equity and what the outcomes were for the citizens in Augusta. Of 159 ranked counties, Augusta Richmond County ranks 137th. That puts us in the bottom 25% of all of the counties and communities in the state of Georgia. And we have talent here. This is my city, so it gets emotional for me. We have such ability and opportunity here to better serve the people. And With a health equity plan, we really will look at measurable outcomes and putting together strategy to improve the health outcomes for the people within the city. And so nothing has been put together. There is no plan to provide you. We really want this to be the community speaking and their voices included and what those outcomes are. But we have to do better. So I'll take any questions. We really want this to be something that bleeds from the top. We want the city leadership to support a healthier Augusta. So thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for meeting with us. And I believe some data was sent to you all previously. Questions?
Jennifer, you said we need to do better, or we could do better. And what does that look like?
Entail. So other cities have adopted health equity plans. There are some people who've done this before us and really moved the mark. We want to look at specific things, and the comparison I'll give you is health fairs. We have many health providers, many well-intended people who host health fairs within the city. They hand out pamphlets, they give out information, they leave the community, they do it again the next year. Those things don't move the needle. They aren't producing better outcomes, better lifestyle habits, better access points. So even the transportation equity plan, it's really looking at what are the barriers that exist within the city for people to prioritize their health. Going to AU or going to Piedmont or working alongside a cardiologist who tells you you're hypertensive, but not having access to the places that you need to prioritize nutrition is an issue here in the city. And so we know we have nutrition deserts in the city. And so it really put strategy and intention within a plan so that all of these nonprofits, all of the medical providers we have in the local area are on the same page of here are marks we want to move in this city. And so grant requests, all the things that are happening beautifully in this city are just a little bit guided by this plan to really show here are the things that really make up a healthy city. And here are the things we want to see come to fruition within the city of Augusta. And I can provide templates to you guys if you're interested in seeing health equity plans that have happened in other cities. We have not put together a blueprint. I don't believe in hustling people. I feel the community needs a seat at the table, and they need to be the voice in putting together anything that we script.
Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see that you're very passionate.
I've had a day
about this, and you exude your passion. How do moving forward? And you talked about the resources that are here in Augusta. How does the city of Augusta play a part in this collaborative effort that you're striving to push to make Augusta a healthier place for our citizens here? What role do we play as a government in making this collaborative effort work?
So the role you guys play is really supporting and empowering the entities that exist and giving them direction. And so that example I gave you with regards to a health fair, there are very well-intended initiatives that happen in the city. People get grants for short-term periods of time. They do projects for 6 months. They do something for a year, and then it goes away. We need to really look at sustainable changes, things that are we're leaving the community better than we found it. And those things that we put in place are sustainable things for long-term change. There are wonderful evidence-based strategies that science shows us improve communities. We would use those as the blueprint. So we really want to lead this with a community assessment that looks at what are the issues unique to our city and are unique to the county, and then addressing those. So for example, we have an influx of clinical providers in Augusta. We don't need a rural plan that addresses things the same way a Lincoln County would, who outranks us when it comes to care. And they are further away from the access point than we are. And so we really are looking at those evidence-based strategies that are going to address the issues we highlight in assessing the community here.
So with us having a seat at the table, of those that will be involved with this initiative or this collaborative effort, when do you foresee the rolling up the sleeves, the work to begin? When do you perceive? When do you see that?
So the good news is work is already happening here. It is, a lot of it is happening in silos. You have people working independently of one another. So a part of this Healthy Augusta Collaborative is bringing together a lot of the stakeholders that exist in this community that are working on things. Here I have with me Janae, who works with public health. They have a hypertensive program there. I work for the Heart Association. Blood pressure is a priority of ours. We work best when we are not hustling that community independent of one another. We work best when we are together and we are not double messaging the community, but working alongside one another. And so this collaborative really looks to bring all those stakeholders together and really commit them to what measures we want to move in the city, and that we're working those things together.
And the reason I ask you is because I sit on the committee of the DPH, and in whatever way that I can send this information to Dr. Lee Merchant, who's over the Department of Public Health here in Augusta, Richmond County, I would like for them to be a part of this this effort. And as a matter of fact, we meet today at 6 o'clock. So this information I would definitely share with her if I can get with you after we finish, so that you and I can have some other conversation that when I present this to her, you know, we can bring them on board as well.
Absolutely. We are at the start of this. This is really nothing that has been done without the community coming together. So, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Commissioner. So, Jennifer, just for clarity purposes, the only thing that you need from the city today is just, in theory, a blessing to say, go do this and bring us back recommendations.
Yes, we already have a collaborative together. We are looking to expand that collaborative to have more community stakeholders present so that we can put that assessment together. We want to bring that plan back to the commission. We don't want that to be the first introduction to it. We want you guys' blessing in knowing that this is occurring, that this work is going to happen with or without your blessing. We are here, and many of us are here to serve the people. So having you guys on board is wonderful, but without you, we are going to carry on. So yes, we are just looking for you guys as good graces.
Thank you. And before we vote or make a motion, how about I say it that way, because I can't call for a vote. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Can you list the groups that are a part of the collaborative?
Sure. So Department of Public Health, American Heart Association, we have the Cancer Center. Many researchers are on the team. We have Augusta Locally Grown. We have extended invitation. There's many providers from Augusta University that are participatory. We have a couple of clinics that are on. Christ Community Health just joined us, serving the downtown area under an uninsured. Every meeting we have is expanding. Walton Options just joined, serving the disability population here locally. I think once we assess the community a little bit and learn what the community feels should be prioritized, then we can strategize in putting the team together a little bit more heavily than where we are right now. But we do have about, I'd say about 20 partners participating regularly, and we meet monthly.
And would you be open for commission recommendations? So for instance, South Augusta, in a lot of our minds, it's a health desert. We talk a lot about food deserts, but they're a health desert.
Mm-hmm.
Have to come all the way downtown and go to AU and things like that. So we know of any clinics or folks in South Augusta doing good work. Could we recommend them to the table as well?
Yes, we do a monthly invite. We always have everyone share. Housing and community development participates from the city, but anybody is welcome. They're always welcome. It's really meant that we aren't, again, double messaging the community, and that we're always abreast of work one another, that our agencies are doing, collaborating when necessary, and going in a little more just better, serving better than going in and everybody kind of working on their own thing.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Vote, Ms. Bonner. Thank you, ma'am.
Go ahead, that motion carries with Mr. Franum out. I believe that takes us to item number 5, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 5 is a request from Developmental Associates LLC to provide details on how they plan to market the administrator's position and a timeline on the process.
Mayor Johnson.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairman. I put this on the agenda in that some community partners had reached out and just want to know the process as we begin this search to see how the company that we have contracted with is going to market this position, so we could keep the process moving forward as we continue this search. I just see recently where I actually executed and signed the contract, so I just want to understand the process moving forward. At what point is the posting made? At what point do we start getting feedback? What timeline of events that it's going to be posted versus us receiving resumes as a body to review? Just want to understand the process.
Mr. Frannon.
Well, who's going to speak on this? HR going to come up and speak? Because I have some questions as well.
The agenda item states that Developmental Associates LLC was requested. Is that not the case?
Not necessarily the case. Anybody that can speak on its behalf is regarding the timeline, the process. So.
Ms. Rookert, are you prepared? Do you have the responses to these questions? I'm not.
I know you wouldn't, Ms. Interim Administrator. Before Ms. Rooker.
Yeah, and just for clarity, when the submission was made by my office, it was someone to speak on behalf of Development Associates, just to give us a timeline as to what the process would be, how the position would be marketed. So not necessarily from Development Associates. I think my staff, when they sent the request, it just asked for a timeline as to how and when we could expect the process to begin and how the position would be marketed.
I don't get it.
Ms. Rooker. And I'm not sure how much we should be given at this time, because I'm not sure, because I think when we actually when it came before the commissioner, I think we had give that timeline first, Ms. Rooker.
Okay, I'm really not sure what you're looking for, but based on the process that you set before me, one of the things that in the process is number 4, where you're asking the recruiter to come before you and explain the process. That's in the steps that you gave me. So I am scheduling them to come before the commission. So I'm not sure
and
what you need.
I think that's sufficient. Do you have a timeline as to when they will come before the commission?
The commission that's next week.
The 19th. Oh, great. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Can I just ask a question? It's a pretty easy question.
Commissioner Franham.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I guess I just have like 2 quick questions. Number 1, has the job been posted yet?
No, sir.
Okay, when is that going to happen?
Once they come and meet with you.
Okay. I thought we were supposed to have it posted within 30 days of approval. I thought that's what this body did. Number 2, how long is it going to be open?
30 days.
30 days is going to be open from the time. So next week we approve it. Well, it's going to be 2 more weeks because it's committee then commission. Is that correct? So basically October, the first commission meeting in October is going to be approved. It's going to have 30 days, hopefully the day after we approve it, 30 days, and then the timeline on the back half of how long it's going to take them, has that been determined yet, or is that determined next week?
That hasn't been determined yet.
But it'll be determined in 2 weeks on the committee cycle. That's all. Thank you.
Any more questions from the committee or commission?
Motion to receive as information.
Vote, Ms. Bonner. It's unanimous.
I believe that's all for administrative service, Ms. Bonner.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Bonner, since my colleague, Chairman of Engineering Services is out today, I'd like to call Engineering Committee to order. Are there any additions or deletions?
No, ma'am.
All right, if my colleagues have no objections, I would like to consent items 1, 2, and 3.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Voting.
That motion carries with Mr. Mason absent.
Okay, well, that concludes engineering services. Thank you.